Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh and good morning to all our viewers. Welcome to our School of Computing Research webinar series. I am Anazida Zainal, representing Information Assurance and Security Research Group, hosting the first series of our webinar. We are so honored to introduce our two renowned speakers, Datuk T.S. Dr. Haji Amiruddin Abdul Wahab, the CEO of Cybersecurity Malaysia, the agency that monitors e-sovereignty of the country. A little bit of his biodata. Datuk T.S. Dr. Amiruddin has more than 25 years of ICT working experience in the telecom and ICT sector in the government, as well as in the semi-government and private sectors. During his leadership as CEO, Cybersecurity Malaysia managed to contribute to Malaysia's achievement in attaining top 10 ranking in the world at the International Telecom Union Global Cybersecurity Index Studies and became first Malaysian to chair World Trustmark Alliance, which was in 2014 till 2015. Besides that, during his leadership, TSM was awarded as Best Cybersecurity Innovation Award 2015 recipient by FireEye Malaysia and won champion prizes at the World Summit of the Information Society for 2 consecutive years, which were in 2016 and 2017. He was also selected to receive an ASEAN Award as the Outstanding Chief Information Security Officer in conjunction with the 10th ASEAN CIO CSO Summit Awards 2014, held in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam on the 2nd of December 2014. He has remarkable records of spearheading various international and national cybersecurity platforms. Nationally, Datuk T.S. Dr. Amiruddin is currently the chairman of National ICT Standard Committee since March 2010 till current. Welcome, Datuk, to our program.
Thank you.
Our second speaker is Professor Muhammad Azaini Ma'ruf, who is now head of the Cyber Threat Intelligence Lab, which is an industrial collaboration lab between UTM and Cybersecurity Malaysia at School of Computing, Faculty of Engineering, UTM. Professor Azaini had held various administrative posts, both at university and faculty level. He has been serving as ICT Research Grants Evaluation Panel at national level. He has produced more than 20 PhD graduates till today. Welcome, Professor, to our program.
Thank you very much.
The perfect blend of industry and academia will give an impactful insight about the topic of today's webinar. The title of our webinar is Security Challenges in the Era of IR 4.0. This topic is very relevant to us as we are now in the realm of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things or IoT, big data, and many more. Humans have evolved from Society 1.0, which is called Hunting Society, to Society 2.0, which is the Agriculture Society, to now Society 5.0, the Super Smart Society. Threats landscape has also evolved. In the Hunting Society, the threat comes from the wild animals that can threaten lives of people. In Society 2.0, the Agrarian Society or the Agriculture Society, threats were in the form of bugs that destroy crops that affect their livelihood. And now, jump to Society 5.0 or Super Smart Society, which is described by technologies such as IoT, big data, AI, 5G network, and robots. Among the major threats to today's society is cyber threats. And the enabler for this Society 4.0 migration is the Society 5.0 is the IR 4.0. Without further delay, I would like to invite Dato to share his views on the security challenges in the era of IR 4.0. Over to you, Dato Amir.
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Anita. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi dan salam sejahtera. Firstly, I would like to say thank you to UTM for giving me the opportunity to speak today, inviting me to speak the topic about security challenges in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. Maybe next. So for my presentation today, I'll be going through several items. And if you look, we can start with the current digital landscape. I think we all know that nowadays there are new technologies that converge into our cyberspace. We used to have only Internet of People, but now we have Internet of Data, Internet of Things, Internet of Services, and it cut across all sectors. As such, it's getting more and more complex with the introduction of many new technologies, big data, artificial intelligence, etc. Next. Next, please. So this is the era, like what Dr. Aniza mentioned just now. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. Can you go back to earlier slide, please? Yes, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, whereby we started in the first industrial revolution. Up to now, we are considered in what we call the fourth industrial revolution, where we see the convergence of cyber and physical system, and actually enabled by the various artificial intelligence and information technology. Next. The top global risks because of this convergence, as we can see, more and more people are connected, and now more and more devices are connected and cut across all sectors. So it actually become I would say a risk, and this is stated clearly in the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report 2020, where it stated that the top global risks expected to increase in 2020 include those in what we call the cyber attacks. If you look at the likelihood of cyber attacks, whether in terms of disruption of the infrastructure and also in identity theft, etc. Next. So what are the motivation behind all these cyber attacks? Next. Obviously, there are many and varies, but one of those that we can see the trend globally is the increase of cyber crimes. We can see that average cost of cybercrime rises by 200% in just 5 years. And in some studies stating that the cybercrime damages will cost the world 6 trillion annually by the year 2021. This is up from 3 trillion in 2015. So you can see that people, especially the cyber criminals, they follow where the money goes. So this is one of the motivation when it comes to cyber attack is concerned. Next. The other one is on hacktivism. So people hack into system for whatever reason. This is sometimes they go for show off, but sometimes also for collecting data and so this is part of I would say the increasing trend that has happened not only in Malaysia but also globally. Next. Another I would say trend in terms of cyber threats, data breach. This is also not a phenomenon locally, but it's also a global phenomenon. And it spikes, as you can see there. Data loss spikes under COVID-19 lockdowns. So with more people connected because of this COVID-19, because of the lockdown, they can't move. So more people into connectivity. As a result, they are also exposed to include data breaches. Next. And there's also a trend of what we call rising trend of darknet as a black market platform in selling data, because it is cheaper, easier, and less risk for cyber criminals to conduct crime. Next. And as I mentioned earlier, the cyber threats and cyber attacks are on the rise during COVID-19. If you see the statistics, that 82.5%, this is the statistic that we have received at Cyber 999 Cyber Help Center in Cybersecurity Malaysia during the period of MCO, the Movement Control Order. The same period compared last year and this year, there has an increase of 82.85%. And obviously, it is not surprising because more people are now connected to the digital space. Next. So the challenges, what are the cybersecurity challenges in the fourth industrial revolution? Next. Malaysia, through the Ministry of International Trade and Industry (MITI), they have produced a study and document that drive the direction of Malaysia's Industry 4.0, which is obviously is focusing on one sector of manufacturing, but then it reflects the overall IR 4.0. Yeah? And these are the key, if you see at the box there that I highlighted, one of the key issues and challenges when it comes to IR 4.0 is, one is exposure to cyber threats, because everything is now connected. And the other one is the issue of shortage of talent, because we need more people, we need more expertise in this area that is continually emerging. Yeah? Next. Next, in terms of talent and expert shortage. There's a study by Forbes that stating that the 5 biggest cybersecurity trends in 2020, and I like to highlight the one in the box, which is the cybersecurity skills gap continues to grow. So this is a challenge. This is not a challenge in Malaysia. It's not just an issue only in Malaysia, but it's also a global phenomenon. Why cybersecurity skill gap continue to grow? Because more are connected. Not only people, but also devices. And not into one sector, but also many sectors. And because IR 4.0 is about all this cyber-physical convergence. So these resulting in the exposure to risk of cyber attacks. And as a result, we need more people, the right talent and skills for us to defend and protect our assets, digital asset in particular, from being stolen, etc. Next. And if you look at this study, for example, it's a study by Cybersecurity Ventures. It stated that by the year 2021, there will be job openings for cybersecurity of 3.5 million people. And you look at the statistics in terms of filling the position is difficult. About 35% unable to be filled. And then between 3 to 6 months to be filled, about 53% of it. So at least half of the applicants are qualified. That's about 16%. So it shows there is really a shortage not only in terms of quantity, but it's also a lack in terms of quantity. So both. So there's actually a lot of opportunities for example, especially universities, to look into the opportunities, the possibility of developing more of this, both in terms of quantity, and also in terms of quality. Next. As I mentioned earlier, these gaps or this shortage is not a local phenomenon. This is a gap that is happening all around the world. So you can see all the various statements there stating the issue of cybersecurity workforce deficit. Next. So what is Malaysia's initiative regarding this fourth IR? Next. So we all know Malaysia is moving towards digital nation. Malaysia is moving towards this fourth IR revolution. So we have this various initiative, Digital Malaysia, Industry Forward, Digital Nation, Smart Nation. But at the same time, we know that with all these new technologies being introduced to the various sectors, comes with it new security issues. Next. And if you look at Rancangan Malaysia ke-12 or 12 Malaysia Plan, there is also highlight the issue of fourth industrial revolution, and the importance of technology being adopted and being driven to facilitate the growth of the country. Next. So when it comes to Industry 4.0 or IR 4.0, actually cybersecurity plays a key important role as a key enabler in ensuring the success of this Industry 4.0. Next. And this is reflected into the policy. And under that, for example, here, under the National Industry 4.0 policy, so we have several trusts. And then you look at this portion of regulatory body. This is where Cybersecurity Malaysia play the role, especially with regards to the issue of security in the fourth industry or Industry 4.0. Next. Here, to be more specific, so I'm going deeper, the aspects of what we call under the section of National Industry 4.0 policy, the regulatory framework and industry adoption. So one is on that integrated, standardized, secure and trusted data ecosystem that enables seamless data flows throughout major manufacturing and supply chain. At the same time, to establish a set of cybersecurity and IoT security guidelines for Industry 4.0 as part of Malaysia's broader development of cybersecurity capabilities. Next. So Cybersecurity Malaysia looks into all these aspects of security in the cyberspace, including also in the fourth industrial revolution era. Next. The way we approach is that we believe cybersecurity must not be look only on certain area, but we're missing on the other part. It has to be looked from what we call a holistic approach that covers the aspects of people, policy, process, and technology. And according to the NIST framework of predict, identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. Yeah, next. Because we believe that, we believe that traditional security is no longer sufficient. So a bit of background of who we are. Cybersecurity Malaysia. We are an agency that started as early as 1997 as a MyCert. We then since then we have evolved. Now, rather than just handling cybersecurity response matters, we have gone beyond up to the 8 functions that I highlighted here, from national cybersecurity policy implementation, technical coordination, cyber threat risk assessment, etc. Next. Cybersecurity Malaysia, as a technical agency and a technical specialist in the field of cybersecurity, we work with many players. For example, in the context of policy level, we work with the National Security Council. We work also with MAMPU. We also work with our Ministry of Communication and Multimedia, because we are an agency under the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia. We also work with the Attorney General Chambers with regards to advising, giving inputs on laws and legislative matters. We also work closely with the various law enforcement agencies in Malaysia when it comes to enforcement in the cyberspace, from PDRM, SPRM, Bank Negara, MCMC, etc. When it comes to working on R&D, this is where we work with the many universities. We have a lot of collaborations with the government research institute, also with the universities. And at the same time, we work closely with the industry. So we have our program with, for example, we call CCP, Cybersecurity Malaysia Collaboration Program with the industry. We also work with industry players. We're working closely with MDEC, with MCMC, MITI, and also all the various industry companies. Plus, not to forget the importance of working with the cybersecurity community. We have good relationship with OAPS, with ROSEC, etc. So we believe that when it comes to cybersecurity, no one can do and work alone. It has to collaborate, and collaboration is the key to success in managing the issue of cybersecurity or cyber threats. Next. So we provide various type of services. So we could cluster this one in terms of responsive, proactive, capacity building, strategic engagement, and also industry and research development. So when it comes to services, we have our Cyber 999 Hub Center, where people can come and report any cyber incident that they experience. The digital forensic is the place where we work closely with the various law enforcement, and we have proactive service that looks into security management and best practices, security assurance, and certification. In terms of capacity building and outreach, we have a program called Cyber Safe, Cyber Guru, and Global ACE, and then research covering both the strategic and technical research, and also the importance of collaboration with the industry. Next. So as I mentioned earlier, with the emerging of new technologies, so traditional security, though it is important, may no longer sufficient, because it is not sufficient to deal with some smart cyber threats. Maybe we do have, for example, firewalls, antivirus, IPS, etc. But these are only effective in managing threats that are known. But what about those unknown threats? So there is a need to have what we call the defense in-depth, covering the whole aspects of policy, process, people, and technology just now. So as this is just an example of how the diagram shows that you cannot be depend on only one layer, but it needs to be multi-layered approach, covering different aspects in order to protect this what we call smart cyber threats, because the threats also evolve and leveraging on the various technology that is emerging nowadays. Next. So we call this approach adaptive security. That means we do not just being responsive, but we need also strengthen our preventive measures, strengthen our detective capabilities, and leveraging on technology like analytics so that we can build what we call predictive capabilities. And this is one of the areas which I will share a bit later, where we work, for example, with UTM when it comes to cyber threat intelligence. Next. So going back to the approach that I mentioned just now, the 4 elements of holistic approach: the people, policy, process, and technology. This is the way to strengthen cybersecurity. Next. So in the context of Malaysia, when we talk about policy, we focus about development or enforcement and update of policy and legislation according to the situation and needs. Next. Here, for example, when it comes to data, we have what we call national cryptography policy that was launched in 2013. And Cybersecurity Malaysia, as a technical agency, we played a role on the technical or encryption technology. Now, where we, together with the various stakeholders from government, academia, industry, we develop our own algorithm, our own projects on development of own algorithm cryptographic products called MySeal. Next. We also work closely with the enforcement bodies such as PDPA, Personal Data Protection Agency. Through their Act 2010. In fact, we are now also helping as advisor to PDPA when it comes to the amendment, because PDPA now going to make some amendments to the current PDPA Act 2010 to align to the new development, such as, for example, the EU's GDPR, and how to govern data that's identified data collected via commercial transaction. Next. The other one is process on the element on process. Yeah, to adopt globally recognized standards, proven process, and best practices. Next. So this, for example, Cybersecurity Malaysia has produced several guidelines. For example, guideline for industrial control system, SSDLC, IoT, etc. These guidelines are those that we has tested in our labs, something that we have worked, and actually this is an output of our lab to ensure that we are more ready when it comes to fourth security challenges in the era of fourth industrial revolution. Next. We also are strengthening our assurance through international standard compliance, and this is where the certification, and we are, especially even the next series of RMK12, we are developing more schemes, certification scheme, and also statement of compliance to cover various aspects to ensure adoption of best practices, to ensure alignment to the international standard, etc. Next. And we also work towards securing product to globally recognized compliance standard, where, for example, Cybersecurity Malaysia is a certification body that is recognized under a common criteria recognition agreement, where it is all our certifications are recognized globally. Next. We also work closely with the various stakeholders, including with the National Security Council, in securing nation through cyber crisis drill. So this is part of our process, and we play the role as a technical advisor. Next. And all our labs comply to various international standards. In fact, not only we comply, we help international bodies. For example, in the case of Global Guideline for Digital Forensic Lab, we work with Interpol, where Interpol engage us, and we provide and share our knowledge and experience in helping them to develop global guideline for digital forensic lab, benefiting 194 member countries of Interpol. And this is contribution, one of the key contribution by Cybersecurity Malaysia to Interpol. And this is based largely because of our experience as one of the oldest and largest, I would say, most experienced digital forensic lab in Asia Pacific. And we are also proud to share that we are also, for example, NVLab certified from America, where we are the only cryptographic lab accredited by NVLab in Southeast Asia. Next. We believe the importance of information sharing in combating cybercrime. So Cybersecurity Malaysia work closely with various cert body, for example, in Asia Pac and OIC. And we are currently also the Asia Pacific chairman of the Computer Emergency Response Team in Asia Pac, and past chairman of OIC CERT, and currently the permanent secretariat to the OIC Computer Emergency Response Team. This is where we work and share various information and knowledge with regards to combating cyber threats in the region. Next. The other component is on technology. That means to use proper, safe, and secure technology. Next. So one of those is where we believe that we shouldn't be just being responsive, but we need to also build proactive capabilities, especially predictive capabilities. And this is where cyber threat intelligence allows us to be able to predict or say threats that may be coming. And here we have a very good collaboration with UTM, School of Computing. And I think this later on, our speaker, Prof. So he will be speaking about this. Next. And this is a cyber threat intelligence lab that we have together in collaboration with UTM. Next. Okay, next. So under that, we have the aspects of cyber I3, intelligence, incidents, and investigation. So these are all combined together. We believe that these three components of cyber I3 will help us to uncover future threats. Next. The incident, CTI lab, incident we have through MyCert, and investigation by DF. So the combination of CTI, MyCert, and DF. So we call it cyber I3. Next. It covers cyber threat intelligence, threat hunting, offense security, and advanced research and innovation. I think later on, Prof will be explaining more, and our speaker on this. So I won't go to the details. Next. This is the photos of the start of our collaboration officially with UTM in developing cyber threat intelligence. Next. In addition to that, we believe the importance of prevention through technology vulnerability assessment. And this is some of the labs that we have in cybersecurity Malaysia, which is the Secure Software Development Lifecycle as a DLC lab, IoT lab, robotics lab. And these are the one, out of these labs, we produce all the guidelines that I've listed earlier. Next. So this is also how we do it and test at the smart, enabling smart city technology adoption and IoT security training. Next. The industry control system, the SCADA. This is our part of way of us producing that guideline. Next. And also prevention to data leakage system. Yeah. Okay. Next. And in addition to being preventive, the importance of what we call detective capabilities. So this is produced through what we call our service called CyberDef, detect, eradicate, and forensic. Normal CSERT only focus on detection and eradication, but CyberDef had also the aspects of element of forensic inside it. And this resulting us winning award in Washington in 2015 as Best Cybersecurity Innovation Award. Next. And the last element is human. Next. So in cybersecurity, we have built a framework covering the aspects of people at large as a user, practitioner, and professional. So we call CyberSafe, CyberGuru, and Global A certification. Next. So the goal of this cybersecurity framework is to develop professional certification program that is recognized globally. This is, I'm talking about Global Ace. Yeah, so that we can build an inclusive, equitable, and quality cybersecurity education. This is industry-driven, but vendor-neutral. Yeah, so it's a scheme that now being recognized not only in Malaysia, but also other regions. About 15 to 16 countries already interested in having the same framework concept of Global ACE in this country. And in fact, next. This Global ACE certification called Global Accredited Cybersecurity Education Scheme, which is a certification scheme for professional development. Next. So to create world-class competent workforce in cybersecurity and promote development of cybersecurity professional programs within the region. Next. So in general, what is it? As I mentioned earlier, is training programs, industry-driven and vendor-neutral, with a foundation to assure workforce capabilities, secure and validate core skills, knowledge, attitude, and experience, and ensure trustworthiness. And this is guided by ISO 19001 and also ISO IEC 17024. Yeah? And it is a large systematic scale systematic plan of action arrangement to establish certification plan for cybersecurity professional, not only in the government, industry, but also in the universities. Next. These are some of the list of training program that is already there, and more are coming. Some of these we have already, several hundreds already been graduated through these programs. Next. These are some of the countries that already indicate recognition to our global A certification. That means the certification that you have is already recognized in many countries. Next. Just to share good news, we are proud that this global A certification has been selected as one of the champion projects under the category 5 of YSIS, World Summit of Information Society Prizes 2020 from Geneva, and inshallah we will be receiving this award in September this year. Next. Okay, next is on the practitioner, on the cyber guru, cyber professional development. Next. So just now we have programs to develop a professional through certification, but some people, they just need the skills. So we provide training, not necessary to have a certification in terms of professional, but there's no exam, but it's more on giving them the necessary competencies. Whether it is fundamental, intermediate, specialization, etc. Okay, and then we work closely with various universities in developing and at the same time building more talent in this cybersecurity area. Next. Next program is CyberSafe. CyberSafe stands for Security Awareness for Everyone. So this is not for practitioner. This is more to user. Those who is non-practitioner, but when they use digital technology, they also one of the link, could be one of the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity. So we have programs to educate and give awareness, public awareness on cyber safety and how to mitigate them online, the online threats that covers aspects of people like youth, parents, kids, and organizations. Next. And we have programs under, we call it Ambassador Program, CyberQuest, and many portals and materials related to awareness. Next. And even book to share the real stories that happen in our Cyber 999. We call it Kisah Benar Cyber 999. We selected 27 cases, and we obviously anonymize the name and location, etc. But we are trying to share and to give awareness about how the modus operandi of cyber threats. Next. We also work with school on the National ICT Security Discourse together in collaboration with MOE. Next. An outreach program at school under the CyberSafe at school. Next. We also do a lot of technical and non-technical research. That means strategic research and also technical research in our research lab. Next. So in terms to strengthening the workforce, next. We have developed 8 technical center of excellence. Covers various areas from proactive to responsive. With our vision to become a world-class cybersecurity specialist agency. Next. And we hope after this we can increase that level of COE centralization to become a national technical centric. That means we work with universities and research institute, even possible a joint effort R&D with many universities to build national level capabilities when it comes to technical expertise in cybersecurity. Next. And one example, for example, this cyber threat intelligence that we have. It comes to R&D in the areas of predictive security. Next. We hope that this will be able to, I would say, build resilient nation towards evolution of cyber threats and attacks in the use of emerging technologies, and at the same time, growth of cybersecurity, local innovation, and foreign investment to support digital economy, etc. Next. In addition to that, we also focus on helping universities to build curriculum or module that fits the industry needs. So, for example, this program of Master of Cybersecurity in UKM, the first of Master of Cybersecurity in the country, and it was done since 2013, and until now, it has been very good enrollment and intake by many participants, including those from the law enforcement agencies. Next. So for some of our achievement, as a result of the 23, 24 years of our experience, we have been taking leadership in many platforms, both at the regional level and the global level. Next. And we also been receiving various type of awards, local and international. And as mentioned, the most recent one is the World Summit of Information Society that we will be receiving in September. It's one of the selected champion project. Next. And last, one of the most important thing I'd like to share, I'm proud of my team. For example, the one we were the champion last year for the ASEAN Capture the Flag competition, beating 10 ASEAN countries cert, hosted by Australia in Perth. And also we contributed to, like I mentioned just now, the development of the Interpol global guideline for digital forensic lab. So they recognize and acknowledge specifically contribution by the experts from cybersecurity Indonesia to Interpol. Next. And if any people, individual, or company, or organization, whatever, they have any incidents, they can report to us at Cyber 999 Hub Center, as I mentioned here, and they can download free mobile app, Cyber 999 app free. Next. So in conclusion, we believe that fourth industrial revolution presents tremendous opportunity for economic growth, sustainability, and social improvement, but they can't just be sophisticated, but they also need to be safe. So a proactive and comprehensive measures needed to address these evolving cyber threats in the fourth industrial revolution. By having protection that is dynamic, holistic, innovative, and adaptive, and the importance of collaboration at the domestic and international level. Yeah, that means interagency cooperation, public-private partnership. Yeah, and this is the way for us when it comes to managing security challenges in the era of fourth IR. Next. So I think with that, I end my presentation, and later on maybe I will share more for the I will say during the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dato' Amir, for informative and interesting presentation about the scary truth or scary reality. Our salutation to CSM, who has been working hard safeguarding our nation for more than 20 years. Congratulations again to CSM for many achievements and recognition. I received 2 questions from the viewers, and I also reserved 2 questions for Dato' from last night. Okay, let me read first the question from our viewers. Okay, this question is for Dato'. Okay, it is from Alif Mukhtar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Dato'. Thank you for the great sharing. Could you share with us what is the biggest challenge in industry-university collaboration, especially in cybersecurity industry? Thank you. Datuk, can you comment on that in terms of collaboration between industry and the university?
Yes. We believe the importance of university and industry collaboration because we need people, and who produce the people, especially those from universities, they will be the one that produce the people, the talent, the skill. As you can see, there's gap. I showed. There's a huge gap when it comes to filling the position for cybersecurity. So if you ask me what are the key challenges, obviously one is in terms of quantity. Still not enough. People have yet moved into this area. Maybe they're taking other fields, but not yet in cybersecurity. And one in terms of quality. That's why we have this program, the framework that I mentioned just now. Maybe you have a degree. When you go to university, you study, you have a degree or master's or whatever. But not necessarily when you have a computer science degree, if the universities do not offer a cybersecurity program or cybersecurity, I would say, modules in the syllabus, chances are not necessarily you are capable of managing cybersecurity issues, because it is a niche skill. It needs to be retrained, and that's why some people maybe in IT, because most of the training that we've got is to develop something as an IT developer, but not really you are also expert in cybersecurity. So that is a challenge to ensure that we have the right talent that can manage both. Because if you look, for example, why we have a lab, secure software life development cycle lab, because a lot of people, they don't look at security by design. Security is only afterthought. Okay, once they have incident, then only they realize the importance of managing that issue of cybersecurity. But as a security practitioner, we believe the importance of security by design from the beginning. So that means even those who is developing whatever system, apps, whatever, they need to understand security. So there's a challenge. So actually what is needed is the gap between the industry needs and what the universities produce, the right talent that meet the needs of the industry. That's why sometimes one, in terms of quality, is not enough. The number, you can see even in Malaysia, not many universities offer cybersecurity program. That's one challenge itself in terms of quantity. And then once even offer, whether they are doing specific domain areas that we need, because now it's so huge. And as I mentioned just now, it can be expert in, we need experts in the areas of responsive service. We need expert in the predictive capabilities. We need expert in preventive services, and also detective capability. So there are a lot of areas. That's why, for example, in cybersecurity, we really feel the need to have to increase capabilities of our staff. Our people, we have about out of the 280 plus staff, about 240s, we have basically staff with certification in 75 domains of cybersecurity. Yeah, so it is an area of challenge, but basically to match between universities, or say, industry's requirement and what is being supplied by the university. So that's why we work closely with universities in terms of research and developing modules, like I showed just now, UTM on the research side, while at the UKM, for example, on the academic side, under that info, we also have for example, under the Masters of Cybersecurity in UKM, not only the modules is being taken as one of the prerequisite of academic program, but those modules will, once they finish, fulfill the requirement, they can also get professional certification and the certification, because that module is in line with the industry needs. So these are initiatives that we are working with not only universities, but now we are also working even at the polytechnic levels.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dato. I think the second question is also related, because the second question comes from Firdaus Azman. Okay, he would like to know if the fresh graduate have the opportunities to get in the cybersecurity sector, and he was asking what are the main skills in technical that the fresh graduate needs to master to get through in this sector. I think it has been touched lightly just now.
Okay.
Okay, so we have another question. Maybe the last question before we move, because we have another second slot by Professor Azaini. Okay, the last question from Kashif Imran. Which area of cybersecurity are you collaborating with UTM, and in which lab? Okay, Dato, do you want to answer that? Yeah.
Yes, I think as I mentioned earlier, we have a collaboration with UTM on cyber threat intelligence. More on the predictive side, the data analytics. I think they have the School of Computing. They have research on security analytics. This is part of the area of collaboration with universities. I want to share that, for example, cybersecurity in Malaysia has been engaged by many universities. Several universities in Malaysia, they want to collaborate with us. And the challenge is that they want to do the same thing. Everyone wants to produce a master's or degree in cybersecurity. I said, okay, that's fine. But we do not want everything is competing into one space. We need to work, because cybersecurity is huge. So they can work and identify their strength and what they want to work with us. So for example, in the case of UTM, we work on cyber threat intelligence because we believe that data analytics capabilities are good there. And this is where we collaborate in the areas of cyber threat intelligence. We work, for example, with another university, which is UTM, University Technical Malaysia Melaka. In our collaboration with them, we developed CMUP lab, cybersecurity. We work malware coordinated malware eradication and remediation program. This is a malware mitigation lab. So because they are on research on malware, So we do not want to compete. Each university will have their own. We work, for example, with UPM. They have a good cryptography association. They have good in terms of their school INSPEN, the Institute of Mathematics. So because of that, so we work in collaboration with them in developing that, for example, as a co-secretariat, the joint secretariat in terms of developing this MySail, the algorithm for Malaysia. So we work with UPM. And when we work with, for example, with UPM, or UPNM, on cyber warfare. So some of my people, I will say, give a part of the lecturers visiting. I would say professors in the various. I myself, for example, I'm a young professor at 4 universities: UTP, UKM, UIA, and also UUM. So we believe collaborating with universities and share the industry needs to the academician, to the university, so that whenever universities understand the needs, it's much easier to produce the right talents for the country. Now, because if possible, we don't have much time to retrain, So by having closer relationship with universities, like for example, the case of UTM with School of Computing, so we build that capabilities because cybersecurity is huge. So it's not just about having a degree or diploma. Some are working closely on academic programs, like UKM I mentioned just now, on masters in cybersecurity. We work with UIA and contributing 3 modules of the 12 modules in the master protective security in UIA. So you can see that we work both at the academic side, academic development modules. We also work with universities on research activities. So that's how we work, and that's why we want to build overall the national level technical capability in the field of cybersecurity.
Okay, thank you, Dato. Okay, let us because I think this is getting more interesting. Discussing about this because it's very real. Okay, but we have our second slot. Okay, let us move to the second slot. Prof. Azaini will share his view from the academia perspective. Okay, so he's going to present some of the slides. Will contain about we'll talk about our collaboration between cybersecurity and also UTM. So without further delay, I would like to call upon Prof. Azaini to share his presentation. Over to you, Prof. Azaini.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Anazida and Dr. Amel. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. What Dr. Amel has mentioned just now is very enlightening and informative information regarding initiative Malaysia for 4IR, role of cybersecurity and their initiative, and the current scenario, what happened in Malaysia. Okay, next. Okay, so I will complement what have been discussed or highlighted by Dr. Amel on what happening on the ground and current scenario. But I'm looking more on the research perspective on cyber physical system security. Okay, so most of the information that I share is based on some references that are quite current and state of the art, and also what mentioned by Dr. Ahmed also mentioned in our research perspective. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover in general. Okay, and also I will introduce the Cyber Threat Intelligence Lab towards the end of my talk. Okay, next. Okay, so basically the fourth industrial revolutions is a conversion of technologies, which is the blur areas between physical and the digital world. So this is known as cyber physical systems. So sometimes it's also known as industrial internet, integrated industry, or sometimes known as smart industry. So as we know, as technologies advance, the line, as mentioned, the line between digital and physical will continue to be blurred. Okay, so as we can see that the IR 4.0, or known as Industry 4.0, enable manufacturing industry to take quantum leaps to uplift the productivity, safety, and efficiency. So if you look at the benefits given by IR 4.0 in terms of mass customization, they can produce flexibilities of products. They can produce with one facilities can produce many products by using the AIs, okay, the cloud computing, the 3D printers, and what's related to IR 4.0. And also safety enhancement in dangerous work environment. Okay, so they can simulate the environment. For example, offshore rigs, chemical facilities, they can use AR, the augmented reality, and simulate solution to decrease the risk in the real environment, and also improve quality, more accurate, more precision in the produce of products. At the same time, will enhance productivity. So this is what 4IR gives to us. Okay, but fourth industrial revolution poses a new security challenge. Okay, as we know, these hyper-connected devices in IR 4.0, the industry, the core smart, everywhere is smart manufacturing, smart buildings, smart cities. Okay, but as mentioned by Dato' just now, most industries, most manufacturers, security concerns are frequently more on afterthought. Okay, they develop a system, then they face a problem, well, then they think about security. Okay, and we look at the normal process, okay, in data, okay, because IR 4.0 will deal with data. That's why the era of big data come in 4IR. Everything, data from sensor, data for any things, it's all about data. So firstly, data is collected, processed, and then transformed into an insight. Okay, insight towards give any decision. Okay, so data in IR 4.0 will play the more critical role in the entire revolution of industry. So we must make sure that it involves secure transfer. So data must be transmitted in a secure environment. Okay, as we see that the numbers of interconnected devices in the system increase, at the same time increase the risk of cyber security attacks, which it was manipulated, it was called hacks and everything. The hackers can manipulate the data. So manipulations of data can result in adverse automated decision making, a bad or poor decision making. Okay, next. Next slide, please. So we're going to discuss about some target and threats. Okay, before we zoom into the challenges that we want to discuss today. So next. So if you look at the diagrams here, okay, so currently we see from the diagram that the main aim of cyber attacks targeting on companies has been scams. If you look towards the current scenario on the right, towards the right, scam, extortion, and followed by espionage, intrusion, and interruption of service. But if you look at the future scenario, okay, in the future scenario, attack will involve to exploit the vulnerabilities of new technologies. Okay, if we talk about 4IR, there's a few components of 4IR, all involve devices. Some devices to devices communication, machine to machine communication. It's all about devices. So this, at the same time, is exploit vulnerabilities to these new devices or technology. Okay, we can see that the future scenario attacks on product systems, on connected vehicles. Okay, we can have future. The future, our car will communicate, quote unquote, communicate with other vehicles for certain purposes. Okay, so on critical infrastructure such as electricity, water, telecommunication network will be increased. So this is the future trends of attacks, what happens in the future. Okay, so next. So this is what we call a tree diagrams attacks. Okay, attacks and targets. It's based on research by Rasim 2018. So this is the tree to look at the cyber physical system failures or attacks, possible potential attacks to CPS. So if you look at, there are attacks on sensor devices, which is sensing, attacks on actuators, which is the actuations, attacks on computing components, which is the computings, attacks on communication, the communication, and this is the 5 potential attack based on this diagram. So if you look at attack on sensing, if you can zoom in and look at it, there are a few potential attacks sensing, which is maybe tampering with hardware, loss of power supply, okay, GPS spoofing, injection, false radar signal, and dazzling camera with light. This is all potential. As we look at these potential threats, at the same time, it opens opportunity for researchers to improve and to overcome the problem that facing by CPS. Okay. Then if you look at computing, okay, there are worms, viruses, okay, illegal processing of data, software malfunctions, equipment failure, corruption of data. This is all potential threats, okay, to computing environment. And also when we look at annotations, okay, there's also a few other things that loss of power supplies, finite energy attacks, bounded attacks, and also towards then feedbacks. So regarding feedback integrity attacks. So regarding feedback, there's only one potential attack, is feedback integrity attacks. So this is a potential open issues and opportunity for actual researcher, and also can benefit the industry, because all these things can be based on our experience. As mentioned by Dato', our labs engage with CSM through research. We are doing as an SME, subject matter experts. We do some study, we do some research, and publish it to CSM, and CSM implement it towards producing a system. Okay. Then at the same time, next, please. Okay. As mentioned before, beside the problem they're facing by CPS, the cyber physical system, there's a lot of opportunity of research that we can explore. Okay, which is, we look at the first one, the development of methods for cyber physical system component authentication. Looking at authentication, okay, the presence of component authentication mechanism, as well as secure channels between sensor and controller, make it possible to increase the security of CPS. Okay, and the second one, the developments of metrics to determine level of trust. This is about trust. Okay, so when human to human, we can have trust. But how about machine to machine? How to make sure that when they communicate, they can share the information? Did they trust the other device? So this is another interesting areas that we can explore. Okay. So the third one is the development method of ensuring the security of the personal data. As mentioned before, data is like an oil, very valuable. Okay. So, but when based on the papers that mentioned by Rasim, the growing popularity of, they call it data mining technology, poses a serious threat to security of confidential personal information. So beside the advantages of using such an approach and techniques, it also gives a disadvantage to it. So this is another thing we can explore. The fourth one is the development of CPS security architecture. Okay, so as we know, CPS problems arise with the growth of cyber and physical threats. So it's a necessity, it's necessary to create a reliable and fault-tolerant architecture to ensure that high level of security and cost-effective towards CPS systems. Okay. So the fifth one is the development of countermeasures to increase the survivability of CPS. Okay. So the developments of countermeasure is an urgent task. Okay, in order for us to minimize the number of vulnerabilities in the CPS. Okay. And the last one, number 6, security protocol development. Okay, as we know that the hyper-connected in the 4IR, there is a lot of question about whether it's suitable or adaptable to the state-of-art standard. Is there any standard that followed by all the devices and protocol? So we need a protocol to ensure the CIA, the confidentiality, integrity, and maybe also the availability of the data. Okay. Okay. Next. So next we're going to talk about the personal data privacy challenges of 4IR. Okay, next. Okay, unlike other revolutions, 4IR deals more with information, data. Okay, That's why, as mentioned before, big data is a thing that part of the 4IR. So the communication between device to device, the D to D, and machine to machine, M to M, will generate a lot of data. So we need to preserve and share private information. So this is a potential to happen when the device communicates. Possibility to share the data is very high. Okay, so as we know that in this era, personal data has already turned out to be a new commodity, or currently sometimes they call it as a new oil. Okay, it's very valuable. It's an asset to us, to industry, even to the country. Okay, the more information get generated and accumulated, the more risky the personal information becomes. Okay. Okay, next. So we got to look on 5 related attack surface on Industry 4.0, which is AI and robotics, AR, VR, IoT, CPS, and cloud and big data. Okay, next. Okay, AI is the top of this privacy leaking list. Okay, based on a study done by a researcher, they identified that AI is the top of privacy leaking list. Okay, so in the real-time image processing, where they reveal human identity and leak millions of personal information. Okay, so if you look at major issues of AI and robotics in perspective of data privacy are no privacy standardization of AI-based technology. Okay, constant gathering from users inefficient. AI decision-making profiling should be monitored. So this is a potential towards the leaking of information of data. Okay, next. So regarding AR and VR, so basically to enjoy the world of AR, VR, we must share some of our information, the data. Okay, so recent studies, analysis, okay, the AR, VR device from the following companies, Sony, PlayStation, Veron, and etc. We found out that similarity with respect to private information is that almost everyone is using cookies and beacons to gather information. So we know that what this thing can happen to our information. So next. So regarding IoT, okay, as a future global network of things, quote unquote things, will bring challenges towards concerning privacy. Okay, so what we listed are the main reason for IoT data privacy leaking. Okay, the default raw data storage, ensure the device energy limitation, encryption limitation, insufficient standardization of organizations, and less information from IoT device produced in perspective of device level collecting and sharing. So this is issues facing by this thing and open more opportunity for research perspective. Okay, next. So based on this study, they mentioned there's 2 privacy leaking in CPS, which are the physical and the cyber. So the physical is privacy attack direct interfere with the physical properties of the systems, while cyber can be computer virus, software, network-based attacks. There are cyber attack to CPS. Okay, next. If you can look from these diagrams, this is what I mentioned just now, the cyber physical, based on we have device sensor with communication involved, computing the software, hardware, the storage where we store data, and the actuators, which is that operate the devices. There are potential attacks. For example, sensor, there's a sensor spoof, DOS, okay, communication, with dropping, packet modification, man-in-the-middle attack, resource blocking. This is all the potential things that can happen to our future communication in the 4IR 4.0. Okay, next. So we look at the cloud and big data. Okay, so the largest and most critical threat cloud computing poses for organization today is loss of sensitive and personal data and information. So this is all about data, because cloud big data is a place we store information. So this is a place where everything that we did and any information in terms of structure or some unstructured data we stored in cloud. Okay. So listed are the keys challenges of cloud and big data, which is we need an expert data extraction, the physical vulnerabilities, big data sharing and exchange policies, large-scale data aggregations. Okay. So if you look, personal information of IR 4.0 will bring what we call an ethical war in between data analysis and data privacy. So we need data. Okay, we need data to analyze, to produce some insight. At the same time, we need also the privacies, the so-called off data. So one side, the industrial revolution demand high data gathering, okay, and improve the user experience. In the other side, the privacy of personal information, which cannot be compromised. So the way forward, we have to look on this, how to balance between these two. Okay, next. So this is some security challenges of industry. So this is quite recent papers based on 2020, Journal of Physics by Adams et al. So challenges, we look at, okay, next. So the first one is lack of ITs or OT, operation technology security expert and awareness. As mentioned by Dato' just now, they need people in securities, okay? I think the demand in analytics, in security data analytics, and also security guys, they are demanding outside. So for this case, for industry, okay? So there's two component people in industry, okay? Before that, we look at industry. Industry involve processes, they undergoing change, okay? So some processes are happening, and the other thing is a security perspective. Okay, people who are involved in manufacturing process usually no clue of what security measures need to be taken. In the other one, the other side, people who are dealing with security part of processor do not completely understand the management process. So this mismatch. So they need someone to expert in both areas. This is quite difficult. So the future talent is those who have these two both so-called skill in facing the 4R in this era. Okay. So most company, as an easier way, easier approach, they deploy security service on top of the current process. Instead of they train their current employees who is working on manufacturing. Okay, there's some reason behind it, because sometimes the employee, the ability of the employee to understand and learn new security systems, and the other one maybe the cost of training is quite expensive in related to security. Okay, so next. The other one is lack of policies and fund to focus on security. Okay, as we know, even most organizations, okay, they're reluctant to focus. They just consider security only an add-on or a luxury fixtures. Okay, they're reluctant to focus on need of security in an organization. Okay, as we can see, due to this, that's what happened. We don't have policies, and fund is not really a priority one for security. Okay. So next. So the other one is liability over products. Okay, because in the 4IR areas, we have what I call driverless car. Okay, no drivers. We have mission-to-mission communicate. They can work 24 hours. Okay. Okay. So basically, to make things happen, to make sure that manufacturer produce a smart product that can be connected to the internet, a large number of stakeholders are involved in the process. For example, the company that supplies the parts, the company that put parts together, the security guys, teams working on security system installed, the software teams that program the device, and many more in supply chain. More than that. Okay, so this huge number of stakeholders end up with dividing liabilities issues in case of security incident. So in the case of security incident, who's going to be responsible? Okay, so this is issues of liabilities of the our products. Okay, for most emerging technologies, liability remains an open problem. For example, self-driving cars. who should be held accountable in case of accidents? The drivers, the manufacturers, or those who design the system for autonomous driving? So this is the remain open question. Okay, so the same question concerned for the entire chain of Industry 4.0. Okay, resulting from adoption of these new technologies. So maybe we can consider the possibility of adopting a cyber insurance policies against cyber attacks. Okay, we have to insure everything. So if ever we can settle that thing based on the cyber insurance policy that we adopt or we take. So next, lack of uniform standards. If you look at IoTs and other standards, they quite established. Okay, but Industry 4.0 security has very little or no standard present in markets. So as mentioned in the slide, the only standard that are being used by current operators of Industry 4.0 are either fragmented or are not agreed upon by research committee working on Industry 4.0. Okay, next. The other things is regarding technical constraints of the device. Most devices in the industries, in manufacture, they're using the current, which is not security is not their priority ones. Okay, so if they want to implement security or to convert from the conventional to the IR 4.0 to digitize their works, they just adding on the existing platform. Okay, so there are a lot of constraints due to limited operating powers. Okay, even the current cannot even perform some basic operations toward the new era of IR 4.0. Okay, okay, next. So this is some recommendation depend on the point that mentioned just now. So people, which is the manufacturers and the operators, should be made more aware of the importance of security and privacy in all the modern devices. Okay, so it's not afterthought. It should be doing a grand designs in developing the systems. Second one is organization need to focus on making policies and rules that make security the number one priority. Okay. So operator of Industry 4.0 also need to clarify the liability issues that might arise due to the incident involving the smart devices. This is going to happen. Another thing, devices need to be manufactured. They are not bound to any technical constraint that meddle with security processes. Okay. Okay. Next. So just sharing some global attack example. Okay, this is going to actually this will happen to us if we really don't be concerned about security in our implementation in our industry, in our institution. Okay, so the first one, next. So this is some globals in US, in Singapore, in Istanbul, and in Ukraine. So next, I will share some of it. Next. Okay, for example, Atlanta Smart City Network lockdown. Attackers encrypted files, locking employees out of Smart City's network completely, while the rest were forced to shut down to prevent the virus from spreading. So the impacts of these attacks, okay, destroy years worth police dash cam video footage, which is very important for certain cases, court case, and so on. Okay, next. So massive power outrage in Ukraine leading to blackout. So there's a one, they call it black energy malware, planted with a network of multiple regional power company in Ukraine. Okay, they flooded it, then they jammed, locked down all the systems. This will happen. Okay, next. So this is sensitive health data, around 1.5 million in Singapore. Okay, it's health data, which including Prime Minister data was stolen in Singapore. So the hackers targeted Singapore's largest health institution, Sing Health. They stole the personal profile, about 1.5 million. At the same time, they also stole the prescriptions, around 1.6 billion of prescription. Okay, next. So California hospital remained shut for a week. So this is ransomware. Okay, a ransomware in order to resume operation. a hospital in California had to shut down all systems for weeks as were attacked for cyber criminals by cyber criminals demanding a ransom in a Bitcoin. So you pay, you get the service. Don't pay, that's it. Okay, next. So airport operation impact, causing significant delay in Istanbul. So in Istanbul, the airport passport system was infected by malware and was down and attacked for unavailabilities of the systems and will impact the delay of the process at the airports. Okay, next. So before I end my talk, I want to share a bit about what is next. What is Cyber Threat Intelligence Labs? So as mentioned by Dato, this is the industry university engagement. We are focused on research on cyber threat intelligence. In other words, it's more on security data analytics. Okay, next. So this is our roadmap. We started around 2014. I think the first time Dato was just appointed as CEO. Actually, we met in 2014. Until 2016, we have a lot of engagement. Nothing happened yet, but still continue. And some of the staff are doing masters and PhDs and few undergraduate students. So in 2016, we have an MOU, we established what we call, the name before was UTM Cybersecurity Excellence. Okay, we're signing MOU in 2016. There are a lot of activities towards the end until 2020. We have student internships, undergraduate, subject matter expert, consultations, a lot of trainings, PhD student, master student, undergraduate student, interns. At the same time, cyber threat intelligence is a must visit lab at the faculty. Okay, so but in 2018 we changed our lab from X lab to what we call it UTM CSM Cyber Threat Intelligence, more focused on certain research perspective. Okay, so next. Okay, so this is our mission and vision of the labs and the activities that we focus in. So the first one, basically the research perspective. We are focusing on the cyber threat intelligence using AI techniques for threat intelligence. We do our outreach programs to society in Johor, to school, to student communities around us. We did produce talents. Okay, we developed talents on local data scientists on data security. Okay, at the same time, technology adoptions to educate new techniques and security analytics. Also, we have few subject matters expert consultation with CSM since 2016 to 2020. A lot of document research that we did, we make a report, and this report is used by CSM to develop their systems. The finding is something they use by CSM. Okay, next. So this is basically a big pictures of our research works. We evolved from the analytics numerical data to structured data, then towards the end what we call it a connective security. So most of our project currently using this approach in our grant and so on to make what we call intelligent brains to our products. So connective security is an application of AI technologies patterns on human thoughts, processes to detect threats and protect physical and digital systems. Okay, next. So before I conclude, this is something that related to threat intelligence actually. This is the art of war. If you know your enemy and yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles, which is related to cyber threat intelligence, is the knowns, known and knowns. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. This is what I call known and unknowns. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. This is what we call unknowns and unknown. So in this world 4IR, we must go towards from unknowns towards knowns and knowns to protect our assets. That's all for today. For me, Dr. Nazira, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof. A good sharing from research perspective. Thank you again. We received two questions from the viewers, and I have reserved one question from me to ask Prof. Okay, I'm going to read the question from the viewer first. It comes from Dr. Murad Irasam. Okay, thank you, Professor Azaini, for sharing interesting research direction regarding CPS. So which directions does, okay, now our name is CTI Lab, Dr. Murad. Okay, so which direction does CTI Lab involve in? And also another question, I think a continuation to it. What is the lab's vision towards IoT security issues? Is there any practical solutions that coming from combating issues related to the IoT industry?
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Murad. Actually, Dr. Murad is my PhD student before. Right now, I think he's in Saudi Arabia now. So, how are you, Dr. Murad? Okay, regarding, as mentioned, as I show you the roadmap of our labs, I think during your time it was X Lab. We know it as X Lab. But we cover many issues. But towards the end, when we deal with CSM, it's better for us to focus on certain issues, which is we go for cyber threat intelligence. So we build our expert, we build up talents, our research focus more on the cyber threat intelligence. Even we do some consultation to government agency. Then the way forward of cyber threat intelligence labs currently, before we are so-called serving CSM, Cyber Security Mission. Right now, we are partner together serving the government agency or industry. So based on our experience together with Cyber Security Mission, we complement each other towards serving and serving in the area of data analytics, security analytics towards government agencies or industry. So regarding, is there any products? Okay. So for your mission, our lab produce what we call next generation firewall, which is IoT based. Right now we have a firewall, a switch based, and right now currently we develop the home based devices, which is IoT devices that filter the malicious from the internet, the illicit contents. We do some analytics, analyzing the threats. At the same time, we also look at potential of commercializing the products. Okay.
Okay, Prof. I have one question. Okay, with the advancement of technology, attacks have become so sophisticated. In one of your slides, 3 out of 4 of your recommendations that you suggested, it deals with people. And we know that people are the weakest link in security. Can you comment on this?
Okay. So this is about human factors.
Right.
So as mentioned before, we have stakeholders. At the same time, at the industries or manufacturers, there's the engineers, factory workers, engineers. They have to work with new technologies, work with a new type of data. Okay, a lot of different data. Before maybe different type of data, maybe right now they're working for different with digitalization and new 4R, they're working for different type of data, networks and system in certain ways. Okay, that's why one of the things is the awareness should be given. They must aware if they must aware regarding the risk they will face to themselves, to their personal data, even will impact their organization. Okay, so the unaware of risk will give a bad impact and easy target for attackers. Okay, if you look at the chain, the supply chain, even though involve so-called robots, the so-called non-humans device, machine-to-machine communication. But at the same time, we should be part of it. We are the one who so-called manage the device. Okay, but as a big whole, as mentioned before, the organization has to make a grand design and put security as a priority one in their facing the whole IR in the future. Even currently we are facing it, and also make it better in the future. Wallahu a'lam bishawab.
Okay, I think it's almost time. We have few more minutes. I think maybe we can have any other questions from the viewers. Okay, if there is no question, I have one question to Dato' Amir. Okay, can we bring Dato' to the screen now? Okay, we are waiting for Dato' to come in. Okay, basically the question that I'm going to ask him is about there are so many initiatives that have been done or taken by the Cybersecurity Malaysia, which include the preventive measures such as they introduce cybersecurity guidelines for industrial control system, the guideline to secure software development, and so on. All these initiatives are no doubt they are good, but I want to know, we want to know more in terms of enforcement. How good is the enforcement being taken to, especially in the government sector? Okay, it seems that Dato' is, yeah, basically, okay, we have to invite him back. Okay.
Well, that's one question from Kashif Imran. Are your lab working in other cybersecurity aspects as well? Yeah, for industry engagement, Kashif, we are focusing on this perspective, the cyber threat intelligence. But our research, we have a lot something. We have cryptography, we have network security, we have other perspective that we supervise students. And for information, yeah, this is the, we can say, the only cybersecurity research lab in UTM, which is purely engagement with industry. Okay, Dato' dah masuk dah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Dato', welcome back. Okay, I reserve one question to you, for you, which is about the initiatives which include the preventive, because it seems like cybersecurity has introduced so many guidelines for the industrial control system, the guideline for secure software development life cycle, and many more. So all these initiatives, of course, they are good. We have no doubt about it. But how far in terms of enforcement, especially in the government sectors? Can you comment on that, Dato'?
Okay, firstly, Cybersecurity Malaysia is a technical agency. So what we do in the first phase, we develop these guidelines. Before we can produce this guideline, this is where we develop all the labs. These are all spending under the RMK 11 that we have. Now we are moving, this year is the last year towards the RMK 11. And we are basically, as the list I mentioned just now, we have a list of various guidelines. So basically we are analyzing all those guidelines through, we are seeking inputs from international, local, and it's already happening. Some already completed, some in the progress. But by end of this year, by this year, everything will be finished. We have to move forward to ensure that it is aligned, because once we have guideline, we as an technical agency, we don't have any act, legislative act that can enforce people to comply. But what we do is that we have for RMK 12, which is starting from next year, we have already put out a proposal to the government to develop, I would say, a scheme in terms of certification, scheme in terms of what we call it a certification statement of compliance. Because normally for certification, it is based on an international standard. That means you comply to international standard ISO, IC, blah, 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 then you will be receiving certificate. That one, we have an entity in Cybersecurity Malaysia called ISCB that will be giving certificate. However, there are also what we call these best practices of guideline. So guideline, it is important to ensure that we fulfill certain requirement. But it doesn't necessarily we can give certification because it's not related to the international standard. So that's why we develop this guideline. So to ensure that if you can comply to this, then you are meeting certain requirement, at least the basic requirement. So ISP is developing a statement of compliance program, whereby after this, we will engage the various stakeholders, including government, law enforcement, regulatory bodies, saying this is the guideline, which is, I would say, can be used for them, for example, if they want to put rating, for example, how of percentage of compliance, maybe certain star, 2 star, 4 star. That is going to encourage them, because currently, for example, if people want to secure their industrial control system, they don't know where to start.
Correct. Yeah.
Isn't it? So that's why
Right.
we developed this lab. We developed the guideline so that if they want to ensure security of their industrial control system, then they have. So now the next step is to ensure they comply. We cannot develop compliance before we develop the guideline,
True. Very true.
isn't
Yeah.
it? That's why we have just completed all those guidelines this year. Some are not only that we completed after engagement and research, whatever,
Right.
we also seek inputs, which we have put in our portal. So people from academia, they give their feedbacks. Yeah?
I see.
And things that I showed you. Some has already completed, some are already in progress of receiving. But by this year, because it's RMK 11 projects, everything will be ready by this year. We already put up a proposal so that next year, then we can ensure put in terms of certification program or compliance program for them to refer to, so that then we can give maybe certain rating. So this is way forward because it cannot be done together. And this is part of, for example, this technology also evolve. These things, people last time maybe just our IT security, now move towards OT security, operation technology security. They includes all this CADA, etc. So these are new things, new things that everyone has to learn. That's why I also mentioned to some universities. I said, don't just focus on IT security. Now no one is doing research on OT security.
Operation. Yeah.
You can see that how they say. I said, you identify your areas. We will work with you because we already have developed. We have done this through RMK 11 ahead of the even universities doing this in some of areas. But then we want to strengthen it because even if you have all these guidelines, if you don't have the right people, right talent, research direction, it can't move forward. The idea is to have nations' capabilities. That's why if you look at the diagram I mentioned, the National Technical Center of Excellence. So not only we have built 8 Center of Excellence, now we are going to make it a national level, National Technical Center of Excellence. That means in collaboration with various universities, so that we can build. That's why I said to the university that came to me, I told them, everyone comes to me and said, can you help me to develop IT security program, diploma, degree? Cybersecurity is not just about that.
Yeah.
That's why I said, you choose your area, then we work with you. So UTM work and choose on data analytics, So that's why we build this predictive side. There's also research on detective capabilities. That's why we work with UTM. UTM is on CMOP, leveraging on our cyber dev service, detect, eradicate, forensic. So they build that capabilities. The same thing, we are working with UPM, as I mentioned just now, on cryptography. Because now the issue of data breach is increasing. So the need to ensure encryption, having local algorithm. So that's why we work with that. So that's how, at the same time now, we need to manage issue operation. People don't all this research. So that's why we produce the guideline. That's the first step. The next step is to ensure they comply to it. We don't have the law, but we are the subject matter expert for them to refer to. So that then after that, using their respective enforcement power, whatever, legislative, they can enforce or they can recommend for entities that are looking into OT system, for example, they can comply to this standard. That's why we have lists of it. So that is itself is one achievement, at least for this RMK 11 period.
Okay. Very good answer. A very complete one. Thank you, Dato. Okay, I have final question. But I think these questions, part of it has been answered by Dato. It comes from Sami Cash. Okay, dear Prof and Dato, are there other universities in Malaysia who also have collaboration with you? I think Dato have touched on that besides UTM.
Yeah.
And what are the security aspects of which they are working, and also how all universities of Malaysia can collaborate together with government? Thanks. I think part of it has been answered by
I
Dato.
think I have answered. That's why I say I told universities, when it comes to cybersecurity, it's huge. Yeah, it's not necessarily even management school. They can talk on. They can look into the aspects of the management, the governance, the risk and compliance. That's another risk by itself.
Exactly.
That's why I say cybersecurity is huge. Don't talk about just about hacking.
Yeah.
The traditional mindset is not traditional. That's why I said the threat has evolved, just like technology evolved. So as such, there's a lot of opportunities for research,
Yeah.
or academic program development, and we can't do it alone. And that's why we work with universities. But to advise universities to ensure it is aligned to the industry needs, because we are the one that deal at the operational level on the ground with the industry and understand the issues.
I think
Yeah.
based on our experience, I think there's a lot of opportunity. You can engage with CSM, and if you give a visit to a CSM, you can look all a lot of opportunity that you can pick up what niche area you can contribute to the country.
Sorry, the
Actually, when you in CSM, there's a lot of opportunity.
yes, yes, yes.
Engage with CSM, give a visit, look at what their activities. You can choose a niche area that you can contribute. And
Correct.
to avoid any redundancies of other universities towards engagement with CSM.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I just want to add a little bit because I'm actually now sitting in CTI Lab, which is Cyber Threat Intelligence Lab, and have been working since many years back with Cybersecurity Malaysia. In fact, we are embarking towards cognitive security, which is like we embed the reasoning in determining aspects related to security. Okay, we have one more question. This is going to be the last question. Okay, it comes from Dr. Raja Zahila. Do CSM support DMZ or the demilitarized zone layers support to SME in Malaysia, such that industry has the capability to secure the IT and OT zone in their company?
We work with any industry players.
Right.
Those
Okay.
that works with the defense industry or security industry, or those who doesn't work. We are okay. We have a program in cybersecurity called CCP, Cybersecurity Malaysia Collaboration Program. Yeah, and this is where we work closely with SMEs. We work with the industries in helping to help protect and secure. I would say whatever industry, including in the security or defense sector. In fact, I myself, for example, in fact, end of this week, Friday, I'll be giving a talk to some of the brigadier generals and above. When it comes to the military side, so we are open, not just the civilian, but also the military, whether they demilitarized or militarized zone. It all depends on that. But we came as a technical subject matter expert. We come in and to support all the critical sectors, whoever requests, and we provide also training, as mentioned, to help build their capabilities. Because sort of like we can't do everything alone, but we help at least to build the capabilities for them. To rise to at least the minimum level that they need to protect their own respective organization or sector.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dato. It's already 1 hour and 40 minutes. We expect to maximum is 1 hour and 30 minutes, but we exceed because I think people or viewers get excited, especially when they are talking about this topic because it affects all of us. Okay, thank you, Dato Amir, and indeed, and also Prof. Azaini. Indeed, this webinar has enlightened us, the viewers, on the threats that are present in the cyberspace, especially in this 4IR time, and also the research opportunities as well. So the combination of both perspectives that we have heard today, which are from industry and academia, is excellent. In Malay, we call it cukup rasa because we have both perspectives. Okay, thank you very much, Dato Amir and Prof. Azaini, for the very interesting sharing. Thank you to our viewers. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our School of Computing Facebook page. We have few more interesting webinar series to come. Okay, thank you again, and see you in next webinar series. Ma'assalamah and bye. Thank you, Dato.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Okay, thank you.
Okay, dah habis tu keluar semua doktor
Okay.
dah habis
Okay.
ya,
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.